Welcome back for another episode with astrologers Justin Crockett, Elzie, and myself, Elizabeth Liz Muschett. We're here today for the astrology forecast for March of 2024, and we're happy to have you all back. How
Awesome.
you
How are
doing,
you?
Justin?
I'm doing fine, Liz. It's great seeing you for the beginning of the month here.
Yes. Boy, the month goes by quick.
Right. Yes. So what are we going to cover today?
Well, first of all, we're going to give them your website and email address. It's justincrockettLZ.com at justin.lz@gmail. And my website is alightpath.com, and you can email me at liz@alightpath. So I started out here with a chart for March 1st at midnight here in Seattle. And it has a moon in Scorpio. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I love this chart. This is definitely a dynamic chart as we see the moon just rising, right after midnight on the 1st, Scorpio. So that makes me think right away. I'm thinking about Mars and Pluto right there being the rulers of this chart, and the moon, paying attention to those aspects of the moon in this chart.
Yes, it's really emphasizing that moon. I like to often look at the moon for the first of the month or the first day of the year. To me, it kind of gives a flavor or an overcast for the month. So Scorpio moon, it's like digging deep. Um, and
Yeah,
then
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say really quickly, if I might add, about the in the sidereal, this moon has a theme of zeal. So if we think about that Scorpio passion and deep, there's a zeal that we're starting off with the beginning of this month.
Oh, that's wonderful. And all the planets are still in direct motion, so forward we go. And Justin and I were talking before we got on the show about how the moon is um, square to Venus and Mars, more about relationships. And you want to elaborate some more on the relationships qualities?
Well, yeah. Before we get into a couple of the planet, I was gonna bring up what I asked you earlier, and we were talking about kind of the overarching theme of how you feel that we're going from air into water. How were you describing that?
Well, for me personally, it feels a little more calming, but I don't have air planets in my chart until you get to the asteroids. So air can be a little off for me. But I think I handled it pretty well. And I like the water because I like to go with the flow, so to speak. But it's like this shift in energy. It's like we're getting close to spring equinox, so we're getting ready for this big shift. And we've been through the outer signs, Capricorn, Aquarius, and now we're moving more into Pisces. So this outwardly um, trans personal signs, and it's like it gives us an opportunity to shine our gifts to the world, to be to get out there and do what we're good at doing.
Yeah, I agree, and I the fact that all the personal planets are going from Aquarius, an air sign that rules communications in the collective, now to a water sign, which deals with healing and creativity, and we're definitely seeing we're like in that liminal space right now between seasons, right? I mean, we're almost to the spring equinox, but not quite. But we are already, we're kind of in that liminal space between that Aquarius and Pisces and that change of seasons, and a couple other themes around this moon right at the beginning of the month is about cultivating and harvesting. So we're and healing. So we're moving from that winter and almost into the spring with all these personal planets moving there.
Yeah, it feels really good to be shifting and moving that energy.
Yeah. And so, to your point on the what I think about the Scorpio moon squaring Mars and Venus, so that Mars Venus conjunction can have a real archetypal meaning for the masculine and feminine, or just really relationships, because we're all masculine and feminine. So there's a relationship thing going on there with the Mars Venus conjunction. And I think when it squares that Scorpio moon, that definitely there's going to be stuff that comes up about relationships right now that people are going to need to work through. And because this is in the 12th house, the moon is in the 12th house of the subconscious, I think really people should pay attention to their dreams right about this night. They're going to probably get a bunch of stuff in their dreams, the 12th house there, about their relationships. And really just pay attention to that. There's a, I like how you described squares.
That we need to make some changes and adjustments. And with Venus and Mars, and it being like the highlight of relationship, it can be relationship with ourselves, but relationships with others too. So, maybe reassessing or reevaluating to see, like, okay, is it going well, or is there some places that I could work on to make improvements?
Right. And the other thing is this moon, again, it's in the 12th house, which we know is ruled by Pisces, and this moon is triangulating that Saturn, Sun, Mercury, and Pisces at this point. So again, it highlights, I would definitely, people should really pay attention to their dreams on this night. They're going to probably get a lot. And there's a healing thing going on here subconsciously, I think, with that triangulation there.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Anything else you want to share on this chart for the first?
Well, one other thing, in that moon is opposing Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. What do you think about that?
Well, Jupiter is a benefic and it's increased or making things bigger, and Uranus is changed. So I would say really focus on what you would like to bring in. If you have emotions that you need to release, go ahead and release them, but don't be stuck in those emotions. Don't have a pity party, because you might just manifest more stuff to have a pity party about. It's like, focus on what you want to bring in, because I'm going to say you probably could bring it in.
Yep, I agree.
Anything more?
No. I think you said it.
Okay, just a little bit about Pisces. It's a mutable water sign. It's very creative, empathic, sensitive, inspirational, music and dance, the ocean, and dreamer. And the caution is it can be overly emotional at times, addiction, gloomy, self-pitying, and careless. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I like to use the word compassion for the positive aspect. Pisces is very compassionate, but I would definitely highlight the escapist.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and maybe we should say how we broke this down, that we go week by week here, don't we?
Well, it's kind of week by week, but it's kind of like a few days at a time. And we're doing it a little different this month to see how this works with a chart and a few things to highlight about it. So we start the month off with March 1st through the 3rd, which is Friday through Sunday. So, and the sun is in Pisces, sextile to Jupiter in Taurus, and that's in blue or light blue. And then Venus in Aquarius is sextile to Chiron in Aries, and that's in light blue also. So, any comment on those aspects?
Well, I was going to say about that, that sun in Pisces, that I think we got to really, I think, kind of keep in the back of our mind that it is right there with Saturn. As I was saying before, excuse me, that 2 days before this, the sun and Saturn are conjuncting exact degrees. And so then we move into the month, and there's still that energy of that Saturn sun, which makes the Piscean archetype more serious. You know, as people with Saturn Sun conjunction in the charts tend to be more serious, and it's you know, Saturn in Pisces kind of brings a more dose of reality and groundedness to the those key themes we're talking about. So I think that, and the fact that it's sextiling Jupiter and Taurus, I think this is really a great time to manifesting your dreams, and doing something creative that brings in new income and increase or gain, because Jupiter and Taurus gain of resources, you know. And this is about doing the hard work right now, putting those dreams in reality right now.
Oh, I like that. And then Jupiter being in Taurus, Jupiter's in a sign for about a year. I would watch sugar intake this year. Sugar cravings could be strong. So do what you can to curb those. And then, so the sun sextile to Jupiter, and it still has that flavor of that Saturn, that since it, moved into this month with that conjunction with Saturn, um, maybe regulate that, or put structure to some health issues if you have any, or um, you know what you want to, like, if you want a new job, or you want to raise at your job, it's like, okay, how can I ask for that in a compassionate way, instead of just stomping in somebody's office and say, I want a raise or else.
Right.
And then we have Venus in Aquarius sextile to Chiron, so there could be some healing brought to our relationships, because Venus and Mars are still very close to each other, even though they've moved away from their exact conjunction, but they're still really close there.
Yeah, you know, and I might point out on one of the next slides that Mars catches up to that, and then right after, so after Venus sextiles Chiron, then Mars sextiles Chiron, and I think I like your point, because we look at Chiron as the wounded healer, that there's something that we're healing about, being valued possibly in relationships. Um, that's what I would say, that would be one of the themes of that.
Well, and Venus being in Aquarius, it's about wanting freedom. So, whatever that freedom looks like, it's like, it could be upsetting if you're in a relationship that somebody wants a little bit more freedom or time to themselves, but in the end, it could be very healing after a while to accept it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we have Venus in Aquarius square to Uranus in Taurus. Do you want to speak to that?
Why don't you? Well, I'll let you go off on this one. Let's start.
Well, you could have an unexpected relationship encounter that possibly could lead to love, or it could just be passionate and a one night stand. I don't know. It could be any number of those.
Or you have a change in a financial relationship that with somebody that you work with, or let's say that you're going for a new job, then definitely highlights the paying attention to those relationships.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, then we move on to March 3rd through the 6th, which is Sunday through Friday. And from the 3rd to the 7th, we have Moon out of bounds. So when the moon's out of bounds, it just doesn't act according to how the moon should act. So it could be more liberated, spontaneous, reject the rules, and free. And then on the 4th, Mercury in Pisces sextiles Uranus in Taurus. Do you want to talk to that one?
Well, I think it just follows up with all what we're seeing, these aspects between Pisces and Taurus we've already talked about, but now we're talking about communications now, because Mercury's a planet communications, and dealing with Taurus, which is about resources and values. Um, Again, all those things we're talking about in relationships, there's something here to pay attention to about communications.
Right. Make sure you have the correct information and all the information. It's like pay attention to your investments, or if your work wants you to sign something new for a new contract or something, make sure that you understand it.
Right. And, I always look at, in a chart, Mercury and Pisces, if anybody has Mercury and Pisces, they're actually a compassionate communicator, and they actually are a dreamer, as you had in the
Mhm.
thing. But that's part of their creative process. There's nothing wrong with a Piscean archetype daydreaming, because that's part of their creative process. They need to daydream in order to accomplish goals. And this is a really great creative period for if a person has any planets that are being transited by this Mercury right now, or the Sun or Saturn. It can be, because we know Venus is going to be right there soon, as we're going to talk about in Pisces. So there's a lot of creative juices flowing in the ethers right now with all of this going on with Pisces.
Yes, and when the planets, come to your chart with you have planets in those degrees, it's I call it an activation
Yeah,
to,
trigger. I
guide
like to call it
guide
a
you.
trigger.
Okay. I love it. Okay, and then on the 6th, we have Moon will be conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. So, we started out with Moon in Scorpio, and then on the 6th, Moon will be in Aquarius. So, pay attention to what emotional issues come up for you, and so that you can work on them.
Yeah, for me, that's almost a little bit of the energy, because it is in that first 0, 1 degrees, the first degrees of the whole archetype of Aquarius. And then with Pluto being this planet of death and rebirth, to me, it's almost like a new moon, or it could almost act like a new moon in a way.
Mhm.
A new moon in Aquarius, that hits that Pluto in those first degree of Aquarius. It's like beginning of ending and beginning of something that's very Aquarian, you know.
I like that. And then on the 6th, Mars in Aquarius is sextile to Chiron in Aries.
This is what we were talking about just a little bit ago, that Venus hit it first and then Mars. So what do you think about that?
Um, see, Mars to Chiron. Um, you could be a little raw. It's like, what if you have a wound, or even an old wound, it could come up for another little layer to release on it. But it also could be somebody else that has something going on with them, that you could be very helpful to them to help assist or provide them some comfort.
Yeah. I was going to say, because we're still dealing with the Mars Venus conjunction here, that let's say that you're wanting to start something new project with a relationship, with somebody. Make sure that you're valued, that you have the same values, with starting something new, because that Chiron in Aries is wherever it is in our chart, we're being challenged with being valued,
Mhm.
of our own impulse to be. So that's something just to pay attention to.
Okay, then from March 8th through the 9th, it's Friday and Saturday. Mercury is conjunct Neptune in Pisces. What do you think of that?
Well, I always think about this is the collective going over the cliff, right? I mean, it's like everybody's dreaming. Um, I think that that if I think at that point everybody can be really plugged into what everybody else is thinking, you know, and that boy, that is a really great creative aspect, I think.
Right. Take note of any creative ideas that you have, I would say.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then on the 9th, Mars in Aquarius is square to Uranus in Taurus.
Wow. So this to me is almost like, a Pluto Uranus conjunction, right? But there's it's, and like you like to say, squares call for action. So there's definitely, this is almost like two pieces of sandpaper. I like to say, you know, putting two pieces of sandpaper together, right? There's like this tension between Mars is you're trying to accomplish something, and Uranus comes in because it's one of those outer planets. Things happen that are outside of your control. So, people may wanting to start a new relationship because it's next to Venus, Mars next to Venus, or they want to start something new that they desire. Venus is about desires, but Uranus comes in from left field and says, nope, you need to make sure you got this going on, or you're going to have this change. So there could be some sudden changes to any actions or relationships right around this period of time. What do you think?
Well, on the 9th, I would tell everybody to pack your patience. Don't be in a hurry. Breathe, because people could be so much in a hurry that they're not really paying attention. So you want to help calm that, or be aware that it might be that it takes you a few minutes more to get to work that day, perhaps, or
Right.
it's just like, just be calm and take your time, because Mars in the negative could be aggressive drivers with that Uranus. So, and then
Yeah, and if somebody's going to take a trip right around this period of time, there could be some things just outside of your control that happens with your travel.
exactly, like the airplane is canceled and you have to go tomorrow, or or it snows and the bus isn't running, for you missed that one, you have to wait a couple hours.
And why we would say that, because there's an element with travel associated with Mercury, Uranus, and Mars. So just for the people who are watching, there can be some travel aspects of movement there and change. So
And then on the 9th, Mercury enters Aries, so it's changing from Pisces energy to the Aries energy. So it'll be a shift in how we communicate with each other. Maybe a little more direct.
Yeah. Well, and that just goes back to that moon in Scorpio squaring Mars in the very beginning of the month. There's going to be a lot more direct emotions stuff going on this month.
Yes, there is. Well, then on the March 10th, we hit the Pisces new moon. It's at 1 a.m. in the Pacific Daylight Time, and it'll be 5 a.m. On the East Coast. Actually, it'll be Pacific Standard Time, and it'll be daylight time on the East Coast. So there's a difference for a few hours that were 5 hours difference than, or 4 hours difference than the East Coast. So the sun and moon are here in the third house at 20 degrees of Pisces.
Yeah. And I was going to just say there's I go ahead.
No, you can say whatever.
No, I was going to say I kind of see the theme of this, which and for those watching, everybody, you could tune into our new moon show where we go in deeper on this on Talk Cosmos with Sue Minahan, and we'll definitely dive much deeper into the Pisces new moon.
Right. And I just highlighted the one aspect because I like to look at if there's an aspect to the new moon, and I picked Vesta as square that, and Hygeia and Neptune are very close to that new moon. So I picked that square. So I would say that home and hearth, there's going to be some changes around that. I would say somewhat, I'm already feeling it because I'm deep cleaning, but just a small section at a time for myself. Do you want to speak to that, Justin?
Yeah, I love what you said, and I think the aspect of Hygeia, which Hygeia is an asteroid. It's named after the Greek goddess Hygeia, who is the daughter of Asclepius, the god of medicine in Greek mythology. So it does relate to health and healing, and I think this is a really, I think healing is a big component with this moon, and Vesta represents the hearth. Vesta was the goddess. She was the sister of Jupiter in Greek mythology and represents keeper of the hearth or the fire. And it's in Gemini, which is about communication. So this is definitely could be a time about healing our communications with others.
Yes, that's wonderful. Okay, and then we go to, I think I went too many slides. Oh, yeah, I skipped one. Sorry about that. So March 10th to March 17th, Sunday to Sunday. So on the 10th, Mercury in Aries is sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. So you want to speak to that one?
Again, I think communications is playing a role here. I mean, this is like fiery, dynamic communications. Whenever you get any planet aspecting Pluto here, I think, again, just breathe and relax.
Well, and it's maybe that conversation that's been needing to happen, and finally it's time to happen, and it's like not as big as of a deal as what you thought it could be.
And I think you're really
it.
good at this too, Liz. You know, being a relationship astrologer, you this definitely down your road here, definitely.
Thank you. And then on the 11th, Venus ingresses into Pisces, and that's with the circle that's in the light green color there. So the Venus energy will shift from that Aquarius energy of, more independence to um, compassion and, maybe wanting to be around more people. You want to speak to it?
Yeah, I like how we got sandwiched there. You know, we got lined up. Venus is conjunct Saturn, and then you've got this Hygeia Sun conjunct Neptune here. Again, there's this time, like, let's say you're a artist. Wow, get it out there. Publish your song, publish your book. This is a really creative time, especially with Sun and Neptune, where if you have a sun that's if you're Pisces and you have a sun that's within these degrees conjunct this transiting Sun and Neptune, you're going to be, could be seen really kind of shine in the collective. And with Venus conjunct Saturn is also auspicious for artists. And it's about, again, putting our desires, our affections into reality here. There also may be things come up in relationships with women and their fathers here from another way that you can see that.
Venus is exalted in Pisces, so Venus really likes being in the sign of Pisces. Okay, then the Sun conjuncts Neptune in Pisces, but also Hygeia is really close to that, so we could include Hygeia with that Sun Neptune Hygeia conjunction. So pay attention to your dreams, the messages, your desires, what you want to create. I really agree with you about the creative energy. Pretty much most of March has this really creative energy.
Yeah, and the reason we say that because Pisces is the creative child. It rules the 12th house of the subconscious and dreams, and this is the dream month that's coming up here. Definitely.
Okay, now we get to the spring equinox, and that's on March 20th in Greenwich, which is Universal Time, and it happens on the 19th here in the United States. And we have a conjunction of Hygeia, Neptune, and Sun, which we kind of spoke to a minute ago. Is there any more you want to add about that?
No, nothing that we haven't already spoke about, but I will say that we do have stay tuned because we do have this is also the World Astrology Day. And so you're gonna, if you're tuning into our video here, you're gonna hear about a event that we got coming up at that Liz and I will be a part of, that where we're dealing with this, where we're with a bunch of other astrologers talking about spring equinox and World Astrology Day here. So I just wanted to throw that point in there.
Can you tell people where they can sign up for it?
It's going to be coming up here in the next week or so, probably on East West Bookshop website in Seattle. So, but you can tune in from anywhere because it'll be on Zoom, and so people will start to see that. And if you love listening to Liz and myself and some others like Sue Minahan Tuck, you'll see us all on there. So,
thank you for sharing that. And then those planets are square to Vesta and sextile to Pluto. So this is an interesting combination. With the square to Vesta, I think we talked about that a little bit in the slide before too.
yeah.
The home and hearth, and maybe getting some ideas of what you might want to change, or I want to paint this room, and what color do I choose? I'm so sick of this green color perhaps, but it needs to change. And then that sextile to Pluto, it's like going deep within and not forgetting, and it's like look at things and pay attention to your dreams and all that. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would add that, let's say a person is an artist, you're a writer. This could be the time when because there is a square here, this is a time where you might make some changes to your creativity here, changes to your communications with the square to Vesta, because Vesta in Gemini is about communications, and of course, because the dream aspect and Piscean creativity there is sextiling Pluto, which is about death and rebirth. This could be a time when we come back down to where we're more grounded in reality of what our dreams are, and making some changes to those.
And maybe calling your power back a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, March 19th, the sun ingresses into Aries spring equinox. Mercury begins its shadow phase at 15 degrees of Aries in 59 minutes. Mercury will be in shadow from March 19th through May 13th. And when Mercury's in shadow, it kind of feels like Mercury's already in retrograde, but it's not yet. And the Mercury retrograde is from April 1st to April 25th. Anything you'd like to add with that?
No, I think you got it covered.
Okay, on March 20th to the 24th, Wednesday through Sunday. On the 21st, we have Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and we've been kind of talking about that a little bit off and on already. So anything else to add?
I would just talk about the Mars entering Pisces. So, I love this aspect because, Mars is about effort and action. And so if anybody has their natal Mars in Pisces, you're having a Mars return coming this time. So that usually means with a Mars return that we're looking at new direction for the next couple of years and initiating new things. And I always say if a person has Mars in Pisces, so if you have this in your natal chart, or how it can be affecting the collective, people are going to be a lot more, before they're taking action, kind of relying on their intuition, and it's going to be about how they feel before they take action. So it's a little bit of a less discernment. So people are going to probably be a little bit more about taking action based on their whims or their dreams versus being a little discerning about it, before they're taking action. But it's a great time to initiate some dreams and goals.
And then with the Venus and Saturn, it's like the structure around relationships. And with this chart that I use, and I didn't put the date on there, it's showing in the 7th house, so it really emphasizes those relationships. and to be compassionate with that. Okay.
And it's a great time for new creative relationships, like you're talking about there, and really dedicating oneself greater to something greater. That Piscean archetype.
And then we start the eclipses, March 25th. We have a Libra full moon, which is also a lunar eclipse, and it just shows the sun and the moon opposite here, and a little bit going on there. And we'll just kind of briefly go over it here because we will be back in a few weeks with an eclipse moon show for the full moon. So we have a T-square, which is in the regular red with the moon, fullness, and sun. Do you want to speak to that?
No, that's okay. I'll let you do that.
Well, it's just asking for changes, and it's already a full moon. So, the opposite of that fullest point would be in Cancer. So I would say to be nurturing to yourself, and there's just some changes coming up with this, which when there's eclipses, there's lots of changes anyway. And then the dark red is the north node to Ceres and to the south node. So, our destiny, and Ceres is an asteroid about harvest and, food and nurturing also. So, is it time, it's getting close to, if you do garden, to start your garden. Is it time to, maybe if you haven't gardened before, should I grow a few things perhaps at this time? Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The whole aspect of the lunar eclipses on a full moon is the Earth sees its shadow, right? And this is a very magical, mystical moon. I mean, the Egyptians used to do some really interesting rituals on this when there was a lunar eclipse, and being able to go really, really deep. And I think what jumps out to me here with this is the moon and the easy flow of aspects between the moon and the sun and Pluto here. And the moon's trining Pluto, which is planet of death and rebirth, and the sun is sextiling it. So there's definitely a change that we see here, and could be some change with relationships and some deeper stuff that may came up. There may be some deeper stuff that comes out of relationships that we see, like we've been kind of going over our heads, and we're not seeing things in relationships, but now all of a sudden there's these things revealed to us about our relationships, because that Libra moon and Aries sun positively aspecting Pluto there. What do you think?
Oh yes, I like that. Things to be revealed. I agree with that so much. And then we have Moon sextile Pallas Athena, and she's in Sagittarius. So emotions. There could be like an activation of your emotional nature. But just breathe. Hang on. And this moon is about relationships because it's in the sign of Libra, and Libra is all about relationships.
Yeah. And I think with the lunar, the shadow being seen, we're going to see some things maybe in relationships we've been oblivious to, or deeper things we did. Secrets are going to come out.
Yes. Secrets to be revealed. It's so true. Okay, March 26th through the 31st. On the 28th, Venus is sextile Uranus. So that's a nice aspect. But it's also an activation degree too. So Venus rules Taurus, the sign of Taurus, and like you say, resources and money. So pay attention to your investments. Just take a look at them. It doesn't mean anything's going to go awry or anything, but it's just like, check in once in a while. It's a good idea.
Right.
Anything else?
Yeah, I was going to point out the Vesta Ingress into Cancer. and because Vesta again is about the hearth, and so because it's moving into the sign of family, this is a really comfortable place for Vesta to be in, because Vesta does rule, sort of the upper intestine, and the which is very Cancerian. It rules family, and she rules security, and also locks and keys and security, and so and really it's about nourishment here. So this is a really positive and comfortable place for Vesta to be until June, when she moves into Leo. So we may see at this particular time after the 31st of people, where Vesta was in Gemini and it was about communications. Now we move into caregiving and family. So maybe there will be a lot. We'll have to really pay attention over the next 2 to 3 months, and seeing these aspects in Vesta, because it's going to bring out a lot of family stuff that we're going to be dealing with, and definitely a time to pay attention to our diet and doing self-care.
Oh, good. Thanks. And then on the 30th through April 3rd, the moon is out of bounds again.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's kind of a busy March.
Yes, yeah, definitely going from this winter change of season into a period of new growth and cultivation, and birthing new stuff there, you know what I mean? So
So please like and subscribe, and leave comments below. We enjoy hearing from you. And upcoming episodes are the Astrology Star Sisters Talk Over Tea. The topic is Spring Equinox, the Sun ingress into Aries, and that's with Sue Minahan. And then the Pisces New Moon on Talk Cosmos, that's on March 3rd. And the full moon forecast, the Libra full moon eclipse with Justin and myself, and we look forward to having you join us. And here is how to get a hold of Justin or myself. It's JustinCrockettLZ.com and myself at alightpath.com. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
all
Bye for
right,
now.
see you, Liz. Bye.